Hello students. In the earlier video, we have learnt about the structure of chromosomes followed by the structure of DNA and the duplication of DNA. Now, let us continue with the next part of the lesson. Before we could learn about the types of cell division, let us learn about the cell cycle. Now, when a parent cell divides, it forms two new cells. If you look at the size of the parent cell and the new cells, so there is a difference in their size. So both these cells have to go through the cell cycle so that they attain the size like the parent cell, and then they are ready to undergo a cell division. So it means every new cell formed has to go through the cell cycle, and then the size of the cell increases just like that of the parent cell, and it undergoes a cell division. So you can say that first you have the cell division, then the cell enters the cell cycle, right? Then again it undergoes a cell division, right? So that the size of the cell is attained to the size of the parent cell. So cell cycle comprises 3 steps. The first step is known as growth phase 1. What do we name it as? A G1 phase. So when a new cell enters into the G1 phase, there are a lot of changes. So after the G1 phase, there is a second phase known as a synthesis phase, which is known by a letter S phase. Then the last phase is known as a growth phase 2. That is G2 phase. Right? So all these 3 phases, collectively it is named as a interphase. It is named as a interphase. So every single cell, first it will have a cell division, then enters into the interphase, and again it undergoes a cell division. So in between 2 cell divisions we have this interphase, which comprises growth phase 1, synthesis phase, followed by growth phase 2. Now, what happens in these phases? So let us just quickly learn in the growth phase 1. So if the cell enters into the growth phase 1, lot of changes occur in the growth phase 1. So in the growth phase 1, the volume of cytoplasm increases. So earlier I said the new cells should attain the size of the parent cell. So definitely the volume of cytoplasm increases in those small cells, followed by there is a synthesis of RNA and proteins which is required for the synthesis phase, followed by the cell organelles. The cell organelles undergo division all by themselves, in the sense their number, that is number of mitochondria. If it is a plant cell, number of chloroplasts. All these cell organelles increase in their number, and these cell organelles, they have their own DNA. They have their own DNA which enables them to undergo division all by themselves. Thereby the number of mitochondria, number of chloroplasts will increase in that particular cell. So in growth phase 1, all the major changes occur in the growth phase 1. Then after the growth phase 1, now the cell enters into the second phase known as a synthesis phase. And in the synthesis phase, in fact, as the name indicates, synthesis occurs. So it is a synthesis of DNA occurs, or we call it as a replication of DNA occurs, or duplication of DNA occurs. Right? So what is the meaning of duplication of DNA? I think in the earlier video I have taught you that a chromosome having 2 chromatids changes into a chromosome having 4 chromatids. So you can say that this is a duplicated chromosome having 4 chromatids. This is a chromosome has 2 chromatids. So this doubling, or there is a duplication of DNA which occurs in the synthesis phase, and this duplication should occur so that the newly formed cells will receive a same number of chromosomes just like that of the parent cell. Now the cell, after synthesizing the DNA, or after duplication of a DNA in the synthesis phase, now the cell enters into the next phase known as a growth phase 2. And in the growth phase 2, some more proteins, some more RNA are synthesized, and again the volume of cytoplasm increases. So at the end of growth phase 2, now the cell reaches the size of a parent cell, and it is ready to undergo a division. It is ready to undergo a division, and that division can be mitosis or it can be meiosis. Right, children? So thus I said G1 phase, S phase and G2 phase is known as an interphase. In fact, if you observe the cell in this interphase under a microscope, it looks, the cell is inactive. It looks the cell is actually resting without any changes. But morphologically, only when it is observed externally, it looks it is resting, but internally there is a duplication of DNA, there is a synthesis of proteins, RNA, all those cell organelles multiply in their number, and finally the cell increases in its size and it is ready to enter into the cell division. It can be mitosis or meiosis. Okay, so that is the reason I said in between two cell divisions we have this interphase. Now let us learn about the types of cell division. There are two different types of cell division. The first type of division is known as a mitosis, and the second type of division is known as a meiosis. So after that interphase, when a cell is totally grown into the size of a parent cell, either the cell enters into mitosis or into meiosis. Now, where do we have these cell divisions occurring? The mitosis occurs, or you can say the location of mitosis, it occurs in the body cells, in all the body cells except the reproductive cells. In all the body cells, or we call it as a somatic cells, that is in case of your epithelial cell, in case of your muscular cell, in case of your bone cell. So all these cells undergo a mitosis or a mitotic cell division. So mitosis occurs in all the cells of the body except the reproductive cells. Right? So RBCs, WBCs, when the bone marrow produces all these blood cells, they are all produced by mitosis. Whereas meiosis occurs in the reproductive parts, that is in the formation of a reproductive cells, such as formation of gametes, that is in the formation of sperms, in the formation of ovum, the male gamete followed by a female gamete, or in case of a plants, it helps in the formation of pollen grains or the formation of the ovule. So you can say that meiosis occurs in only the reproductive cells. Then mitosis is said to be an equational division. We call this cell division as an equational division. And meiosis is named as a reduction division. Fine. Why do we name it as an equational division? Let us take an example of one of our muscular cell or an epithelial cell, right? So if this is the parent cell, and if this parent cell has 46 chromosomes, we know that every cell in our body has around 46 chromosomes. So when this epithelial cell or a bone cell or a muscular cell, when it undergoes a mitotic division, it forms two new cells. And those two new cells will have a same number of chromosomes just like the parent cell. So it means the chromosomal number is maintained. The chromosomal number is maintained. It is same just like the parent cell. Right? So you can just see here, we call this division as an equational division because the same number of chromosomes are found even in the new cells which are produced after the mitotic division. Then moving on to meiosis. In case of a meiosis which occurs in the reproductive cell, which occurs in the testes, which occurs in the ovaries, which occurs in the androecium or a gynoecium of the plant. So when the number of chromosomes or when the cell divides in those reproductive parts, right? So let us take an example, formation of a sperm or a formation of ovum. So when the sperms are produced in the testes or when the ovum is produced in the ovary, so when a single cell divides into two, so those two new cells after the meiosis, their chromosomal number will be only 23 chromosomes in each of the sperms or in the ovum. So you can say that there is a reduction in the number of chromosomes, reduced to half of its original number. So the human cell has around 46 chromosomes. So when the sperms are produced, they have 23 chromosomes in each. When ovum is produced every alternate month, even that ovum has only 23 chromosomes. Hence, we name this division as a reduction division. Then, why the meiosis occurs in the reproductive cells? Why it occurs in the formation of gametes? Now, we know that to form the zygote, when a zygote is formed, so what is the meaning of a zygote? Zygote is a fertilized egg, or you can say it is a fusion of male gamete and a female gamete. That is a fusion of sperm with the ovum during fertilization. So the product of the fertilization is known as a zygote, which is a single cell. Fine. So the sperms, which contain 23 chromosomes, and ovum, which contains 23 chromosomes, when they undergo a fertilization, what happens? The number of chromosomes will be around 46, which is similar to the parent cell, the chromosomal number of a parent cell, or you can say that there is a restoration. So the original chromosomal number is restored in the formation of the zygote. So the original number in that particular species will be restored. Fine. So it can be any organism. Whenever the meiosis occurs, there is half the number of chromosomes in those gametes, and those gametes undergo fertilization so that the original number of chromosomes is restored or maintained in the zygote, and this single zygote, now it undergoes a repeated division which gives rise to the embryo or to the fetus, and the baby is born. So what is the major difference between mitosis and meiosis? So in case of a mitosis, the newly formed cells will have a same number of chromosomes to that of a parent cell. So the chromosomal number is the same. But in case of a meiosis, we call the meiosis as a reduction division because the chromosomal number is reduced to half of the original number. But on fertilization or during the fertilization, when the zygote is formed, sperm containing 23 chromosomes and ovum containing 23 chromosomes undergo fusion, and then the original 46 number is maintained. So hence meiosis is necessary to restore the original number of chromosomes. Imagine if this division does not occur. If the sperms have a 46 chromosomes and ovum has a 46 chromosomes, the zygote formed will have a 92 chromosomes, which is not the actual number of chromosomes in the human cell. If this continues, so every generation you will have a doubling of chromosomes, which should not occur. Human beings have only the 46 number of chromosomes in their cell. Fine, children? Okay. Now let us study about the importance of mitosis, why the mitosis occurs in the body. So mitosis occurs in the body to help in the growth. What is the meaning of helping in the growth? It is nothing but increasing the number of cells. Increasing the number of cells. Now take an example. A zygote, which is a single cell, undergoes repeated cell division mitotically, forming many number of cells. So there is an increase in the number of cells. Gradually there is an increase in the size of this zygote due to the repeated cell division, and finally there is a formation of embryo, and after the formation of embryo, certain parts will change into certain organ system, and finally there is a birth of the fetus or the baby. So in this course of the development, there is a continuous mitotic division where you can say that there is an increase in the size of this zygote to a embryo to a fetus, and the baby is born. So in all those muscular cells, the bone cells, there is a repeated cell division. That is a mitotic division which leads to the increase in the number of cells. Okay. Then mitosis is also required for replacement. What is the meaning of replacement? In case of a RBCs, probably if you just recall, RBCs only survive for about 120 days and then they die. So once they die, they should be replaced by the formation of new cells, and those new cells are produced in the bone marrow. So it means there is a formation of new cells, there is a replacement of new cells once the old cells are worn out. In the same way, every cell in our body has a certain lifespan. Now take example, epithelial cells survive only for about a week, and after that, once they are removed from our cornified layer, the new cells from the lowermost layer, they move up, what do we call it, as a Malpighian layer, and then they are replacing the old cells. Okay, So along with the replacement, it is also required for repairing. What is the meaning of repairing? Now, when a person has a cut in the skin, so all those cells in the skin are damaged or destroyed. So when those cells are destroyed, there should be a formation of new cells from those old cells. So to form those new cells from the old cells, okay, there should be a mitotic division. What do we call it? As a repairing. Is it clear? So thus you can say that mitosis occurs for various reasons, that is for growth, for replacement, and for repairing the injured cells or the worn out cells. And along with that you can say that it is also responsible for reproduction, especially in the unicellular organisms. One single cell undergoes a division forming two cells, which is also a type of a mitosis. Okay, so thus mitosis and meiosis occurs in our body cells, which play a very important role in the formation of new cells. Fine, children. So let us start with the next video, that is types of cell division.